Welcome back, viewers. You're watching WION World #1. This is World DNA, the show that gets you ahead of the rest. I'm Shivan Charna.
And I'm Raisha Sehgal. On the show today, we get you the latest from West Asia, where Hamas leader Yahya Sinwar has said that he wants a ceasefire deal, but based on Biden's three-part ceasefire proposal, which was proposed earlier this year and was rejected by Israel. There are also questions being raised on Netanyahu's stance regarding a ceasefire deal, with his coalition partners threatening to leave the government if Bibi agrees to a deal. We'll of course be tracking all of that on World DNA today.
Also on World DNA, we look at Bangladesh. Amid continued civil unrest in the nation, there's massive outrage over protection of Hindu minority in Bangladesh. Reports of multiple attacks on the Hindu minority in Bangladesh have triggered protests in several countries. We will be tracking all of that and a lot more right here on World DNA. Let's start.
Hamas chief Yahya Sinwar urges mediators to implement Gaza truce plan based on US President Joe Biden's vision at talks due on August 15th. This amid speculation of Iran carrying out an attack on Israel before that.
Moscow admits Ukrainian troops have advanced 30 kilometers into Russian territory. The fire at Zaporizhia nuclear plant completely put out, says the local government, amid blame game between Moscow on Kiev on who started the blaze.
Hindenburg hits out again at SEBI chief Madhvi Puri Bush and her husband with a point-by-point charge. All eyes on how Indian stock markets react to Hindenburg's charges against the market regulator, particularly Adani Group shares.
Over 300 Indian Americans and Bangladeshi origin Hindus in Houston join a vigil to protest the horrific acts committed by Islamist extremists targeting Hindus and other minorities in Bangladesh. Similar protests also held by Indian origin residents in the UK.
In the Brazil plane crash probe, officials say flight and voice data from the ill-fated flight that has been extracted with 100% success. Initial report and possible cause for the crash to be released in the next 30 days.
Death toll from the landslide in the Uganda garbage landfill rises to 21. Rescue teams continue to dig for survivors, with a probe underway on the causes of the landslide.
The Indian Olympic Association President PT Usha blames Vinesh Phogat and a support team for the failure to make the weigh-in for the 50 kg gold medal bout at the Paris Games.
The 2024 Olympics draw to a close with a spectacular closing ceremony at the Stade de France in Paris. The city's mayor hands over the Olympic flag to the mayor 2028 host city, Los Angeles. Hamas leader Yahya Sinwar has said that he wants a Gaza truce deal, and this comes just days after the US, Qatar and Egypt urged Israel and Hamas to return to the negotiating table.
Right, Shivan. Israel has said that it will send a negotiating team to Doha or Cairo for crucial ceasefire talks on August 15th. Hamas has also asked the mediators to implement a ceasefire plan for Gaza, which was earlier put forward by US President Joe Biden, and has hinted that it may stay out of the new round of talks.
In a statement, the militant group said that Out of concern and responsibility towards our people, the movement demands the mediators to implement what they earlier presented on the 2nd of July 2024 and was based on Biden's vision and the UN Security Council resolution. The mediators should enforce this on Israel instead of going for further negotiation rounds or new proposals.
However, the three-stage plan for a ceasefire, which was proposed by US President Joe Biden earlier this year, includes a full and complete ceasefire. Number 2, withdrawal of Israeli forces from Gaza. And lastly, the release of hostages. And all these claims have been rejected by Israel, which had raised objections saying that it did not include one of the primary objectives outlined by Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, which is to destroy Hamas.
There are also growing concerns on whether Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu wants a ceasefire to remain shrouded in uncertainty, while the mediators have urged that a deal is the only path to bring all the hostages back home.
Netanyahu also faces growing pressure from his coalition partners who have made it clear that they do not want Israel to strike a deal with Hamas.
Taking to social media, Israel's finance minister Bezalel Smotrich called the ceasefire deal a surrender deal and urged Netanyahu to not fall into the trap. It is a tightrope for Netanyahu to walk on, considering how his political future largely depends on his coalition partners, and several of whom have already threatened to leave the government and cause it to collapse if he agrees to a ceasefire deal.
And well, for more on this, we're now being joined by Colonel David B. Des Roches. He's joining us live from Washington, D.C. He's a professor at the Near East South Asia Center for Strategic Studies at the National Defense University, and he's joining us live from Washington, D.C. Welcome to World DNA. Sir, I want to first start by asking you that Hamas leader Yahya Sinwar, he has agreed for a ceasefire deal, but now the questions being raised regarding Netanyahu's willingness to strike a deal given the fierce opposition that he faces from his coalition partners, and he's also facing pressure from the hostage families and also international pressure from the US and other countries. How do you assess all of this impacting the ceasefire deal? In your opinion, do you think it will yield any kind of a result now?
I don't think it will lead to a positive result, no. I mean, what you have is a situation where you have arbitrators like this, the United States, Qatar, Egypt. Both sides don't want to antagonize the arbitrators. Both sides want to say, oh, yes, we'll accept this deal. But then they argue over the details and the implementation. So Sinwar's conditions are that Hamas continues to survive as a military organization capable of projecting power in Israel if need be. And he wants to hold on to the hostages because he recognizes that if they're released, Israel will probably move in and destroy what remains of the organization. Israel's objectives are to get the release of the hostages and to destroy Hamas's ability to project power into Israel. It's not at all uncommon when a situation like that where you have incompatible goals that both sides will accuse the other side of bad faith and seek to get the mediators to impose their view on the other side.
Colonel, as you mentioned, you don't expect these talks to reap any kind of a result which is going to be conclusive. I just want to also understand from you, would you want to, or would you consider the possibility that Hamas is perhaps opting for Biden's plan, relying on the fact that Israel had rejected it earlier and it may just reject it again, and thereby this ways at least Hamas is perhaps on the right side of the US and the UN Security Council? That we agree to it, but Israel isn't. Yes, please go ahead.
Yeah, that's how you always try to present yourself as the reasonable party. But if Netanyahu were to turn around and say, okay, we accept this plan, big part of it is that there's supposed to be an immediate release of hostages. Let's see that. I don't think Sinwar is in a position to comply with that. So, I mean, what you do is you accept the general principle, try to portray yourself as reasonable, and then you argue over the details. And the details is really where the two warring parties' positions are incompatible. But it's clear to me that Hamas is generally in the West, increasingly in the West, and definitely in the global South, winning the battle for public opinion. Israel's been on the back foot on that front for some time now.
Right. Colonel, there are also reports indicating that Iran could attack Israel before August 15. That's before the ceasefire talks takes place. Earlier, you'd said on the show itself that you don't expect any kind of an attack from Iran or its proxies. I want to further take that point forward. That how do you assess that impact of Iran attacking Israel now impacting or hampering the ceasefire talks?
Yeah, well, what I said is I don't expect an attack of an exceptional nature. There's constant ongoing attacks from Lebanese Hezbollah and other groups on Israel. So honestly, it's kind of divorced from the issue of Hamas. Iran's calculations are in Iran's interests, and they have a sort of general concern for Hamas. They're happy to see Hamas fighting Israel, and doing damage to Israel, but they're not going to risk their national security or their well-being on behalf of Hamas. Really, what is driving the Iranian calculus is the humiliation of having the head of Hamas assassinated in one of their most secure facilities, and the revelation that their security state is infiltrated by Israeli agents at the highest level. And I think that I was on a Hamas-friendly channel the other day, and they were saying that all of this is being driven by a desire to avoid Iran providing a pretext for the collapse of the talks on the 15th. I don't think that really comes into play at all. I think that Israel has probably communicated to the Iranians, you've seen what we can do, and if we have trouble, we're going to get you. And my data point there is the supreme leader himself. He was only at Haniya's funeral for a short period of time because he was vulnerable there. And you could see the video of him. He was looking all around the room as if he was expecting something unpleasant to happen. So I think the two issues are disconnected in the Iranian calculus.
All right, Colonel, thank you so much for joining in. And your projections and assessments are always very insightful given your vast experience in the region. Always a pleasure getting your insights on matters. That was Colonel David B. DeRoche joining us from Washington.
Thank you.
All right, we move further from here. Despite mounting global pressure for a ceasefire, Israel continues with its offensive in Gaza.
The Israeli Defense Forces claim to have struck 30 sites in the Strip in the last 24 hours. The IDF says they were all Hamas military targets, military structures, anti-tank missile launch posts, and also weapons storage facilities.
This video is of the moment that an airstrike hit a house in Sheikh Radwan in the suburbs of Gaza City. One person was killed and several others were wounded in the strike. Reports suggest that residents were notified of a possible strike in the area.
People were seen leaving with whatever they could grab, using cars, donkey carts, and even on the foot, as Israel expanded evacuation orders in the Strip.
Now, the question that the Gazans are asking is, how many times will they need to run for their lives? Listen to this.
We are tired of being displaced 50 times. Find solutions for us. Where are the Arabs? Al-Aqsa is not for us alone. Al-Aqsa is for all Muslims.
I fled 6 times already, from the north, from the south, Maghazi, Al-Nusayrat and Rafah. Now where should I go? My wife is sick. She can't even speak. They told us to leave, but I ask, where? Where should I go? I desire death now. I wish God would take my soul.
There is no safe place in this situation. Safety is only with God. May God protect people's lives. Look at the destruction. Everyone has left their tents and the situation is really bad. Where are the countries? Why did they leave us alone like that?
Well, from one war front, let's shift our focus to another. Continuous coverage of the ongoing Ukraine-Russia war. In the latest, Ukrainian troops have advanced some 30 kilometers into Russian territory, with Moscow terming it an effort by terrorists to destabilize the country.
In the latest, continuing tensions between Kiev and Moscow have extended to a blame game over a fire at the Zaporizhia nuclear power plant in South Ukraine.
Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky accused Russia of causing the fire at the power plant, which is under Russian control. However, Russian-installed governor of Zaporizhia region refuted the allegation, saying that the fire was a result of shelling of the town of Erodor, that's the town, by the Ukrainian armed forces. Meanwhile, both the sides say that there has been no detected spike in radiation levels around the power station. And this comes amid an escalation on the battlefield with Ukraine's incursion into Russia's Kursk province.
This video appears to show damage caused by debris from a Ukrainian missile that officials in the Russian city of Kursk say injured at least 13 people early on Sunday. That's after President Volodymyr Zelensky acknowledged for the first time that Ukrainian forces were fighting in the surprise cross-border offensive. In his nightly video address on Saturday, Zelensky said he had discussed with Ukraine's top commander the actions to, quote, push the war into the aggressor's territory.
Ukraine is proving that it can indeed restore justice and ensure the necessary pressure on the aggressor.
Sunday marked the sixth day of intense battles amid Kyiv's largest incursion into Russian territory since the start of the war. Russian President Vladimir Putin cast the Ukrainian attack as a major provocation. Russia imposed a sweeping security regime in 3 border regions on Saturday, while its ally Belarus sent more troops to its border with Ukraine. In the city of Kursk, footage showed a damaged 9-story apartment building on fire. It was not clear whether there was further damage from the destroyed Ukrainian missile. Reuters was able to confirm the location of the video, but could not independently verify the date it was filmed. Meanwhile, Russia's defense ministry said on Sunday it had destroyed 14 Ukrainian drones and 4 tactical ballistic missiles overnight over the Kursk region. Additionally, 18 drones were said to have been destroyed over other Russian regions that Ukraine frequently attacks.
Over in the US on the campaign trail, US Vice President Kamala Harris was in California on Sunday, and this was after campaigning in key battleground states.
She attended a Sunday fundraiser in San Francisco that drew top Democrats, including former House Speaker Nancy Pelosi and Governor Gavin Newsom. Well, the fundraiser raised more than $12 million for the conclusion of Harris and running mate Walz's swing state tour. Nearly 700 people bought tickets that cost between $3,300 and $500,000.
Welcoming the Democratic candidate back home, Pelosi said at an event that Harris makes them all proud and brings joy and hope. She went on to describe Harris as someone who holds great strength and is politically very astute. Harris and Walz have just finished a tour of multiple swing states, and they are looking to capitalize on the gain in momentum that the blue camp has witnessed since Harris took over at the top of the Democratic ticket.
In the weeks leading up to Joe Biden's resignation, Pelosi was amongst the Democratic leaders who did not express support for Biden. At the fundraiser, she praised Biden's achievements while also criticizing his former campaign. The Harris campaign had brought in $36 million in the last 24 hours following Walz's selection as the running mate. In July, she raised a chunk of $310 million, signaling that she has established a stronghold on the voter base as well as increased enthusiasm about her campaign.
With the presidential elections less than 3 months away, Harris has gained a lead over her rival Donald Trump in 3 battleground states. The recent New York Times Siena College poll looked at 3 key states of Michigan, Pennsylvania and Wisconsin. It showed Harris with 50% support among voters in the states compared with Trump's 46% support in each state.
US President Joe Biden has said that he dropped out of the race to the White House to ensure that Donald Trump was defeated.
And of course, this is in his first interview since taking the decision. Biden also fired fresh salvos at Trump, calling him a genuine danger to American security.
Delving more into his reason for quitting the 2024 US presidential race, Biden told CBS News that his exit was important to reunite the Democratic Party. Explaining his exit, Biden said other Democratic Party lawmakers standing for re-election feared that he would damage their chances and added that his only priority was to stop Trump from returning to power.
Biden maintained that his race against Trump was neck and neck and the race would have been down to the wire. He said some of my Democratic colleagues in the House and Senate thought that I was going to hurt them in the races, and I was concerned if I stayed in the race, that would be the topic.
81-year-old Biden has kept a low profile since withdrawing after his failing and shaky debate performance against Trump and underlined fears about his age and mental abilities. Biden said that he made his historic decision at his family home in Delaware. He took the decision just weeks after his debate with Trump.
When asked about the stakes for the upcoming presidential elections, Biden said, I give you my word, I think they're that high. Mark my words, if he wins the nomination, this election, watch what happens. It's a danger. He's a genuine danger to American security.
Biden said he was proud of his record on jobs, investment and COVID-19 recovery. When asked how he wishes history to remember him, Biden replied that he proved democracy can work. He vowed to campaign hard for Vice President Kamala Harris, who has replaced him on the ballot.
The Democrats' hope of winning have soared. Their hopes have soared since Biden's exit, as Harris has enjoyed a surge in support that has left Trump struggling. Days after the tragic airline crash that killed 62 passengers in Brazil, a probe is underway into the causes of the tragedy.
Officials have now managed to extract 100% of the data from the black boxes recovered from the aircraft. And according to investigators, the two devices, which are the cockpit voice recorder and the flight data recorder, they contain voice recordings and other important flight data which are currently being analyzed. The chief of SEBI stated that French and Canadian experts, flight technicians, aircraft manufacturer and engine manufacturer, they are probing the incident.
Na noite de ontem recebemos os investigadores.
Last night we received investigators from SEBI as well as technicians from ATR, the manufacturer of the aircraft. They are collaborating with our investigation, and in the next few hours we will receive investigators from Canada, which is the country that manufactures and designs Pratt & Whitney engines. Investigators from the Transportation Safety Board of Canada and also from the engine manufacturer to continue to work on the investigation in the next few hours.
Fabricante e de projeto dos motores da Pratt & Whitney.
Further, Moreno said that he intends to reveal the preliminary report on the aircraft accident within 30 days. The investigators might get a better understanding of what led to the tragic accident with the extracted details.
The ATR-72 twin-engine turboprop domestic airline, which was bound for Sao Paulo, crashed near the Brazilian town of Vinhedo. As for the Brazilian Air Force, minutes before the crash, radar contact was lost with the plane, leading to a breakdown of communication. Further, pilots did not respond to any kind of emergency. The crash is said to be the world's deadliest since January 2023. That is, when 72 people died on board a Yeti airline that crashed while landing. The elusive artist Banksy has confirmed that he painted swimming fish onto a city police box in central London.
Well, the glass-fronted box has been transformed to look like an aquarium, and this is his 7th new artwork to be revealed in the capital in a week. Take a look at these images.
Well, it's now time for a quick short break, but don't go anywhere. On the other side of World DNA, we'll get you a story from Bangladesh where unrest continues and there's massive outrage over protection of Hindu minority in the country. Reports of multiple attacks on the Hindu minority in Bangladesh have triggered demonstrations in several countries.
The 1-2 punch between Hindenburg and India's SEBI chief Madhvi Puri Butch, while a face-off between the US short seller and Butch is escalating. India's markets regulator has asked investors to remain calm.
From the bustling trading floors of Wall Street to the vibrant exchanges of Asian stock markets, WION breaks it down for you to make sense of what's happening. As we reveal the key factors behind events, strategic battles, and the game-changing business decisions that shape the world. We bring you all of this and more on World Business Watch.
Namaste. Hello friends. We did Dr. Subhash Chandra show, popularly known as DSC show, for 4 years from August 2014 to August 2018. 28 states of Bharat. Of course, we reached out to all of you in 190 countries across the world. The show was very successful. Each episode was being watched by almost 25 million people every week. For past 6 years, the demand of the show has never died down. People write to us, people ask for the show to restart again. Hence, we are beginning the show once again on All Z Network, also on WION, which is the global network channel from India. Again, thank you for your love and affection. See you soon at Subhash Chandra Show.
To bring the benefits of the Subhash Chandra Show to your educational institution, teachers and students, send an invitation to Juhi Jha at yoursarthi@such.org.in. Massive turning point in the West Asia conflict. Israel opens Iran war front. Hamas chief Ismail Haniyeh killed in Tehran, a targeted attack during a visit to Iran for the new president's inauguration. Nearly 2,000 kilometers away in Beirut, Israel kills a top Hezbollah commander in a targeted strike. West Asia on the boil, war clouds darken, and the threat of a wider conflict grows bigger than ever.
The Earth is sending distress signals. Wildfires, droughts, and melting glaciers. Can we reverse the damage? Explore the harrowing effects of climate change. It's a wake-up call. Global emergency. Climate Tracker on WION World is One.
WION, India's global voice, the channel that brings you the biggest stories from across the world through India's lens. Now available in more than 190 countries worldwide. Because we believe that the world is one. Watch us in Africa, Europe, USA and Canada, South America, Asia Pacific.
back. You're watching World DNA with me, Raisha and Shivan. There's lots lined up on the show, but first a quick check on the headlines.
Hezbollah fires nearly 30 rockets from Lebanon into Israel on Monday overnight, say Israeli Defense Forces. Sirens sounded in North Israel. No injuries reported.
Hamas chief Yahya Sinwar urges mediators to implement Gaza truce plan based on US President Joe Biden's vision at talks due on August 15th. And all this amid speculation of Iran carrying out an attack on Israel before that.
Moscow admits Ukrainian troops have advanced 30 kilometers into Russian territory. Fire at Zaporizhia nuclear plant completely put out, says the local government, amid blame game between Moscow and Kiev on who started the blaze.
Hindenburg hits out again at SEBI chief Madhvi Puri Bush and her husband with a point-by-point charge. All eyes on how Indian stock markets react to Hindenburg's charges against the market regulator, particularly Adani Group shares.
Over 300 Indian Americans and Bangladeshi origin Hindus in Houston join a vigil to protest the horrific acts committed by Islamist extremists targeting Hindus and other minorities in Bangladesh. Similar protests also held by Indian origin residents in the UK.
In the Brazil plane crash probe, officials say flight and voice data from the ill-fated flight has been extracted with 100% success. Initial report on possible causes for the crash to be released in the next 30 days.
The Indian Olympic Association President PT Usha blames Vinesh Phogat and her support team for the failure to make the weigh-in for the 50 kg gold medal bout at the Paris Olympics.
'24 Olympics draw to a close with a spectacular closing ceremony at the Stade de France in Paris. The city's mayor hands over the Olympic flag to the mayor 2028 of the host city, Los Angeles.
Amid continued civil unrest in Bangladesh, there's massive outrage over the protection of Hindu minority in the country.
And reports of multiple attacks on the Hindu minority in Bangladesh have triggered demonstrations in several countries worldwide.
Well, Hindus represent about 8% of Bangladesh's 170 million people. After the fallout of the Sheikh Hasina government, at least 2 Hindu organizations in Bangladesh and members of minority community have faced at least 205 attacks across 52 districts.
Bangladesh's interim government says that it is important that people feel India as a good friend of Bangladesh, as both countries have shared deep relations. Foreign Affairs Advisor MD Tauheed Hussain, in his first press briefing, said that the possibility of bringing home Hasina falls under the jurisdiction of the Law Ministry, and that his office will respond only if the ministry makes any such request.
The interim government has issued a stern warning to media organizations. In a move at curbing the spread of misinformation, it has stated they will be shut down if they publish or broadcast false or misleading news. Hasina's son, Sajib Wajid, has accused the caretaker authorities of allowing mob rule. He has said chaos is imminent in Bangladesh without swift elections.
So right now in Bangladesh, you have mob rule. 2 days and this interim government is powerless to even save the Supreme Court. They just appear to be figureheads. So I think it's in their best interest to hold elections, to prepare for elections as soon as possible, to have a return to a legitimate government that has the legitimacy of the people and true authority. Otherwise, it's just going to devolve into chaos.
Families of political prisoners secretly jailed in Bangladesh under Hasina's rule, they wait desperately for the news of their relatives. Rights groups have accused Hasina's security forces of abducting and disappearing some 600 people, including many from the main opposition BNP party and the banned Jamaat-e-Islami, the country's largest Islamist party.
Next up, we turn our focus to the 1-2 punch between Hindenburg and India's SEBI chief Madhvi Puri Butch.
While a face-off between the US short seller and Butch is escalating, India's markets regulator has asked investors to remain calm. However, the spat is turning more controversial with the back and forth between Hindenburg and the SEBI chief.
Now, late on Saturday, the US-based firm released a report with several claims of fraud, including that Butch and her husband, Dhaval Butch, held stakes in offshore entities linked to the Adani Group's alleged financial misconduct. In the afternoon on Sunday, the SEBI chief and her husband released a joint statement of their own, rebutting each allegation point by point. The couple denied all allegations. Instead, they accused Hindenburg of character assassination weeks after SEBI sent a show cause notice to the US firm for its report against Adani in January 2023. Shortly after, the market regulator also issued a statement asking investors to remain calm and that the investigation into the Adani Group and Hindenburg is ongoing. Later in the evening on Sunday, Hindenburg countered SEBI chief's rebuttal with a further point-by-point allegation. Now, what are Hindenburg's allegations? The US firm claims that Butch and her husband had undisclosed investments in offshore funds linked to the Adani Group. The report also accuses Butch of being the 100% shareholder of a Singapore fund when she was a full-time member of the SEBI. Hindenburg alleges that Butch transferred her stake to her husband only 2 weeks after she took over as the head of SEBI. Now, the allegations suggest a possible conflict of interest for the SEBI's probe against the Adani Group. SEBI chief in a statement said the investment in the fund referred to in the Hindenburg report was made in 2015 when she and her husband were both private citizens living in Singapore and almost 2 years before she joined SEBI.
Butch said that the decision to invest in this fund was driven by Dhaval's childhood friend from school and IIT Delhi, the Chief Investment Officer Anil Ahuja. The statement denying any link to the Adani Group added, and I'm quoting here, as confirmed by Anil Ahuja, at no point in time did the fund invest in any bond equity of any Adani Group company. Countering that statement, the US firm said Madhvi Butch's response includes several admissions and raises various new critical questions. Hindenburg also challenged the SEBI chief to commit to a full, transparent and public investigation into these issues. Well, these allegations have broader implications for both SEBI and the government. The government, though, has not responded to the ongoing drama yet. To start with, these allegations raise several questions. Number one, will the government initiate a new probe as the opposition has demanded? Or should the SEBI chief hold the position under such a scenario? If proven true, the claims could undermine confidence in SEBI's impartiality and regulatory effectiveness. Investor confidence also comes into question here. Now, all eyes are on how the markets react to the face-off and more so on Adani Group's stock moves. Moving on, heavy rains continue to sweep several parts of northern India. India's Met Department has issued an orange alert in several states.
In Jammu and Kashmir, Amarnath Yatra has been suspended following torrential rains. Heavy rains have brought Himachal Pradesh to its knees. In a tragic end, 11 people lost their lives after floodwater swept away an SUV in Una district. The horrifying visual on the screens that you'll be seeing shortly show the car caught in the overflowing ravine.
The families were en route to a wedding when they encountered the flood ravine on the Himachal-Punjab border. Reports of damages due to heavy rains, landslides and flash floods have poured from several districts. Heavy rainfall and a series of cloudbursts have created chaos across the state this season, resulting in major loss of life and property.
A high alert has been sounded in Rajasthan. A 40-year-old man and his son lost their lives and 2 others injured when their house collapsed following heavy rain in Karoli district. Heavy rainfall was recorded in several districts of Rajasthan as well, disrupting daily life and resulting in the loss of life and property. In Alwar, police had to launch a rescue operation after a waterfall gushed out at a rapid pace in Rajgarh subdivision. More than 150 people were evacuated with the help of ropes. In capital city of Delhi, several areas faced waterlogging issues after incessant rainfall. 3 people have died in the capital in rain-related incidents in the last 4 days, including a 7-year-old in Haryana. Heavy rainfall lashed several parts of Ambala city, disrupting normal life and causing waterlogging in the city.
Well, commuters were seen wading through waterlogged roads as heavy rainfall hit several parts of the city. Heavy rain lashed in Punjab's Jalandhar on Sunday, inundating low-lying areas and causing traffic. Many areas in the city witnessed waterlogging, affecting people's daily commutes. Vehicles and people were seen wading through the waterlogged streets. Several parts of Patna, the capital city of Bihar, went under water after just an hour of rain.
Shifting focus to China next. In a surprising demographic shift, the country is witnessing an extraordinary trend. Cats are outpacing children.
Yes, absolutely. You heard that right. China, known for its vast population, is now grappling with a declining birth rate, while pet ownership, particularly among the younger generation, is skyrocketing.
By 2030, the country's urban centers are expected to be overrun by an army of 70 million pets, while the human population dwindles to 40 million. It seems the youth have decided that changing litter boxes is preferable to changing diapers.
Well, this phenomenon is not just a passing fancy. Nearly half of China's pet owners fall into the 23 to 33 age bracket, suggesting that millennials and Gen Z are leading this revolution in China as cradles remain empty. The sound of contented purring is filling the void.
The declining birth rate, which is projected to drop at an average rate of 4.2% until 2030, is largely attributed to fewer women of childbearing age and a general disinterest in having children. With the high costs of raising kids and the pressures of urban life, it's no surprise that cats, who demand less space and attention than children, are winning the hearts of China's youth.
Well, this shift towards fur babies is not unique to China. Globally, birth rates are tumbling. But China's case is striking given its historical one-child policy, that decades-old mandate which aimed at curbing population growth. That seems to have overshot its mark, leaving behind a generation more interested in cuddling kittens than cradling infants. Let's now take a look at all the news from the world of technology. OpenAI, the company behind ChatGPT, has said that it is concerned that its realistic voice feature for its AI model might cause people to bond with the bot at the cost of human interactions. The San Francisco-based company added that chatting with AI might result in misplaced trust, and the high quality of the GPT-V-O, that voice, may intensify that effect. During an internal test, OpenAI said that it noticed volunteers speaking to AI in ways that hinted that it had made bonds with AI. The company added that while these instances appear harmless at the moment, they must be studied further to see how they might evolve over a longer period. Moreover, OpenAI speculated that socializing with AI could also make users less inclined towards human interactions and relationships.
This next report is alarming. According to cybersecurity researchers, GPS spoofing, a form of digital attack that can send commercial airliners off course, has entered an intriguing new dimension: the ability to hack time. According to an aviation advisory body, there has been a 400% surge in GPS spoofing incidents. They added that some of these incidents involved clocks on board airplanes doing weird things, such as a recent incident wherein an aircraft operated by a major Western airline had its onboard clock suddenly jump forward by years, causing the plane to lose access to its digitally encrypted communication systems. And while the aviation advisory bodies did say spoofing attacks will not cause any crashes, they did add that the confusion caused by GPS spoofing could potentially trigger a series of minor events that may eventually lead to a serious incident.
Donald Trump's presidential campaign has said that some of its internal communications have been hacked. The campaign has accused Iranian actors of stealing the documents, while the campaign did not provide any evidence linking the document leak to Iranian hackers or the Iranian government. And the accusation comes one day after Microsoft released a report indicating that Iranian hackers targeted the campaign of an unnamed US presidential contestant this year in the month of June. Microsoft's Threat Analysis Center report said that the hackers had sent the campaign a spear phishing email that contained a malicious link.
New data from the UK paints an unexpected picture of marital stability, while the share of adults unhappy with their relationships has reached a 6-year high.
The divorce rate right now is at a 50-year low. This paradox is directly linked to the cost of living crisis, rising inflation, mortgage rates and rental prices. They all have made the financial burden of separation too heavy for many couples to bear. As a result, they are choosing to stay in unhappy relationships rather than face the economic challenges of divorce and live alone.
The economic pressure exerted by the cost of living crisis has had a profound impact on UK households. Beyond relationship strain, the data also reveals a broader decline in overall happiness. Anxiety levels are up and life satisfaction overall is down. For many, financial stress has seeped into every aspect of life, including personal relationships. Additionally, the housing market has played a significant role. High mortgage costs and rental prices have made it difficult for couples to establish independent households, further contributing to the decline in divorce rates.
The UK's recent divorce law reforms intended to streamline the separation procedure, which have been overshadowed by economic realities. The introduction of no-fault divorces has not translated into a surge in divorce filings. Instead, financial constraints have emerged as the primary barrier to separation. This trend highlights the complex interplay between personal relationships and economic conditions. Well, the Indian Olympic Association has thrown Vinesh Phogat under the bus. IOA President PT Usha has blamed Phogat and a support team for the failure to make the weigh-in for the 50 kg gold bout on August 7th.
Phogat was disqualified from the competition after she was found to be 100 grams over the 50 kg limit set for the competition. She has been classified last. She has been classified last. The Phogat Vinesh Phogat has appealed the disqualification at the Court of Arbitration for Sport or CAS, and a judgment will be announced on Tuesday. Now, IOA President PT Usha has put the onus solely on Phogat and her team for not making the required weight for the competition. Usha claims it is the athlete themselves, himself or herself, in sports like wrestling, boxing, judo and taekwondo who have to ensure they make the weight.
The IOA is backing its medical staff led by Dr. Dinshaw Pardiwala after he was subjected to online trolling over Phogat's inability to make weight. Usha also clarified that every Indian athlete at the Paris Games had his or her own support teams who had been working with them for years. This comes on the back of WION's interview with United World Wrestling President Nenad Lalvoich, who said that the Indian camp missed out on a silver medalist due to a wrong interpretation of the rules. Take a listen.
I'm really sorry what happened to her, but we have rules. Rules are the same for everyone. Of this Olympics, it seems that at least 2 athletes and another one this morning missed the weigh-in. And this one didn't show up this morning because he knew that he cannot. And so he is disqualified. Who doesn't make the weight cannot continue. The rule for an injured person is different. And I have the feeling that something was missed or not well understood. You know, if I come to India and take your car to drive and I start to drive in the European way on the wrong side, I will not go far. So, sport is based on rules. We have to respect rules. Without this, we have nothing.
Usha's comments are bound to generate significant heat. Wrestler Aman Sehrawat claimed he lost 4.5 kgs ahead of his bronze medal bout in the men's 57 kg freestyle event. Sehrawat told WION he followed the instruction of the national coaches after winning bronze.
कल जब ये सेमीफाइनल बाउट आ गया था और आने के बाद जब इसका वजन किया तो 61.5 किलो वजन था, क्योंकि पूरे दिन में 4.5 किलो वजन बढ़ चुका था। और सुबह वजन दिखाना, पहले दिन हमारे साथ विनेश के रूप में हमारा गोल्ड मेडल खत्म हो चुका था। तो एक ट्रेनिंग तो हमने वहीं उसी टाइम 1.5 घंटे का सेशन लिया, अपना मैट प्रैक्टिस और हल्की हाथों की मेहनत। उसके बाद फिर चल पड़े। हम रात को 11 बजे आए थे गेम्स विलेज में, तो मगर अमन सुबह 3 बजे, क्योंकि अब भी करीबन 3-3.25 किलो वजन ज़्यादा है, मगर सुबह 3 बजे चल पड़ेंगे। लगो साहब 12 बजे चलेंगे। फिर मगर ठीक है, मैं कुछ खा पी के लेट जाता हूँ, 1 घंटा तो क्या नींद आएगी, तू मेरे को जगा दियो। ये पहलवान जी ऐसे थे, 12:15 बजे मेरे को हाथ मार दिया, लगो साहब चले, और चल बैठे। तो 12 बजे हम जो खेल विलेज का जिम है उसमें गए।
तो आप कह रहे हैं कि इनमें जो भूख थी वो एक तो अलग से भूख थी, लेकिन ये मेडल लाने की भूख थी आपकी। आप कितनी भूख थी आपके अंदर?
भूख तो थी जी बहुत ज़्यादा, मतलब थोड़ा। अब मैं 3:30 बजे क्या ही थी, 3:30 बजे जाता तो बाई चांस नहीं आता वजन, तो टाइम था उसका, बता तो सकते नहीं टाइम को, तो मतलब ऐसे भाई पहले ही चले 12 बजे ही चलते हैं।
Phogat's team was independent of the coaching staff sent by India's Wrestling Federation. Phogat went to CAS on her own with a legal team hired in France, and the IOA was only added to the case against World Wrestling and the IOC as an interested party. Senior advocate Harish Salve and Vidushpad Singhania represented the IOA virtually during the hearing in front of CAS ad hoc panel on Friday.
Phogat led an agitation against the Wrestling Federation and accused former President Brijbhushan Sharan Singh of sexually exploiting female wrestlers last year. The matter is sub judice and charges have been framed against Singh. All right, next up, let's get you the latest from entertainment. Tom Cruise gave the Paris Olympics closing ceremony a Hollywood flair when he drove off the top of the Stade de France. This stunt was done to mark the handover from the Paris Olympics to the LA Games in 2028. The actor jumped off the roof of France's biggest stadium and landed on stage. In another pre-recorded segment, he was seen parachuting out of an aircraft and landing on the Hollywood sign. Cruise is one of the high-profile Hollywood figures who has been a regular at Summer Olympics.
Disney has released the first live-action trailer of Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. Rachel Zegler plays the new Snow White, while Gal Gadot plays the Evil Queen. Directed by Mark Webb, Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs features a reimagination of the original 1937 animated movie. The movie was originally set to release on March 22nd, 2024, but got delayed due to the SAG-AFTRA strike. It will now release on March next year.
Disney revealed an extended look at the upcoming release, Mufasa: The Lion King. The Lion King prequel takes place before the events of the 2019 live-action Mufasa, focuses on the early years of the eventual ruler of Pride Rock, as well as his menacing days with younger brother Scar. The movie will roar into theatres on the 20th of December. All right, viewers, that's a wrap on this edition of World DNA. Thank you so much for tuning in.
You're watching WION World is One. Stay tuned.
Everyone loves a contest. But sport isn't just about victory and defeat. When the GOATs in sport speak, you hear it first on WION.
You have to play good cricket over a period of time.
I actually pushed myself right out of the damn tournament.
We go beyond the stats. Our stories are quoted the world over.
At WION, sport is part of our DNA. Come, join us on this journey. Weekdays 6:30 p.m. IST, 1 p.m. GMT.
Namaste. Hello, friends. We did Dr. Subhash Chandra show, popularly known as DSC show, for 4 years, from August 2014 to August 2018. 28 states of Bharat. Of course, we reached out to all of you in 190 countries across the world. The show was very successful. Each episode was being watched by almost 25 million people every week. For past 6 years, the demand of the show has never died down. People write to us, people ask for the show to restart again. Hence, we are beginning the show once again on All Z Network, also on WION, which is the global network channel from India. Again, thank you for your love and affection. See you soon at Subhash Chandra Show.
To bring the benefits of the Subhash Chandra Show to you.